This is Dancing Rabbit, and welcome to another Saturday Pagan Perspective. This is the question for October 31 through November 5th, Snow and Winter Magic. It's from Surfer Scissors, who was formerly a host here on Pagan Perspective. She says, I've lived in Alaska for a year now, and the dark half of the year is coming up. Although I've lived here before, my entire practice, with the exception of last year, was spent learning in the Southwest, and so I don't quite know how to connect with or even deal with practicing up here in the winter. I'm used to being able to do rituals outside at night all year round. However, needless to say, I can't do that in 40 below, and it seems like all the buildings here are trying to block out all forms of nature, whether it's the midnight sun in the summer or the -40 and snow in the winter. I live in a tiny basement apartment and don't have a lot of room to do rituals. To all of you who do live in climates where you actually have snow and winter-like weather, how do you stay connected to what's going on outside when the world seems to be built to block it out? Also, what are some ways I can specifically include snow in my practice? Well, I live in Houston, Feather and I do, and it very rarely ever snows here. When I lived in Arkansas, we'd occasionally get a few inches of snow every year or so, so I don't quite have the personal experience of surviving on the North Slope of Alaska in the winter, but I'll give it my best shot. Wicca and most of the neo-pagan traditions come from Northern Europe, considerably further north than most of us in the United States, unless you live in Alaska. And so the seasons were much more severe than most of us experience today. So I would think that moving to Alaska in some ways might make it easier to follow something like Asatru or Celtic Reconstructionism, or even an eclectic Wiccan type path, because you'll see a much greater difference in the seasons. You'll see the shifts. You say you're in a tiny basement apartment. I suspect that our distant ancestors, say at the close of the last ice age, didn't do a whole lot of outdoor rituals at the foot of the glacier with the blizzard blowing through. They did whatever they did inside, in their tents, in their caves. So call your apartment your cave. You know, maybe do something like some cave type paintings on canvas, not the wall, and hang it up, and that's your cave. And so you can't go out in 40 below when the wind's blowing and the wind chill factor is -100 and something. Our distant pagan ancestors didn't either. Scott Cunningham's book Earth, Air, Fire, and Water has a couple of chapters, and I think one of them is on ice magic and one's on snow magic. I've really never done any of those spells because, like I said, it doesn't get that cold here, but you might consider getting a copy of his book and checking it out, seeing what you can do. The times that I remember snow, of course it wasn't 40 below, but it was really nice to go out after the cloud cover had cleared, and it would be very cold, crisp, blue sky, and fresh snow. And you could look for animal tracks, bird footprints, rabbit, squirrel, and so forth. You know, if you're in the city, there may or may not be a whole lot of wildlife. However, even here in Houston, fourth biggest city in the United States, I've trapped 3 possums in my backyard already. We have lots of squirrels, and I understand some people have skunks and even deer that visit them. So it's possible. The thing is, you do with what you have, and you celebrate what you've got. And you've got a much more drastic seasonal change than we do here, and it's much closer to that change of our ancient pagan ancestors in northwestern Europe than it is here in subtropical Houston. So go with what you've got, do the best you can, and have fun with it, and don't worry about the stuff that you don't have and that you can't do, because even if you did worry about it, you still don't have it, can't do it. Okay, till next time, this is Dancing Rabbit. Peace, y'all.